We have a guest speaker tonight. We have Pastor Mike. So give him your undivided attention and listen up. All right.
Well, it's good to be here with you guys. So you guys have had a good year? Yeah, you guys got some great teachers that get to work with you. And what better way to end the year than with some hot dogs and deer burgers, right? Yep. Well, good. I was thinking about just what to talk to you about, and I was actually thinking about something we're talking about church on Sunday. And but it relates to sports. Probably all of you are big sports fans, right? Yeah. Football, like football? Baseball? You know, I think if you're a football fan, if you're a real big football fan, you know what's going on a week from tomorrow. The draft. Yeah. What they do is that they have...
They pull people, the college football players to the elite. I mean the professional.
Right.
Yeah.
So the guys that have been professional or college players, they get drafted or they take turns choosing them for what team they're going to be on. And it's a big deal. And, you know, it's really interesting, too. A lot of times they talk about, you know, these guys, oh, they're going to be so good. And what's amazing is a lot of times the people that they think are going to be really good players don't turn out to be that good. And the people that they don't think are going to be that good turn out to be great players. And you know one of the big reasons why? Is a lot of times what they do beforehand is they look and they say, well, who's the fastest and who's the strongest and who has the most athletic skill? But a lot of times the best players aren't the ones that necessarily have the most skill. It's the people that work the hardest. And so, you know, I think of even this past year. I mean, they had a guy that was drafted, or a couple years ago, was drafted in the 3rd round, and he was, you know, as a quarterback, and they didn't think he was going to be that good. And he's a guy named Russell Wilson. And if you know anything about the NFL, he won the Super Bowl. And he not only started, but he won the Super Bowl. And here you have a guy that people said, oh, he doesn't have what it takes. But he excelled because he's the hardest worker. And meanwhile, they have a guy, and you know, everybody's debating whether they should draft him because he's the most, you know, the strongest, most talented guy. And they said, oh, he's got to be the first pick because he's the best person. But even in college, he didn't try that hard. And what you'll find is that a lot of times the best players aren't the ones that are the strongest and fastest, but they're the people that try the hardest. And it made me think of something that Paul says in the book of 1 Corinthians. As he talked about, he says this, do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we do it unperishable. So I do not run aimlessly, but I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body to keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified. And what he's saying is, he says, you know, all of us, you know, not all of us are going to play professional football. Not all of us are going to play professional baseball or any of those things. But all of us do run in a race. All of us do have something that, in a sense, that we're a part of. And that's life. And you know, we think about, like, you know, for me, it's like I could have wanted to be, I could joke and say, I want to be a professional basketball player. And I could work all that I wanted to do and practice 18 hours a day, but I would never be a professional basketball player. You know why? Because I'm short and I'm slow and I can't jump. I don't have the ability. And so for me, I couldn't have ever done it. But there's certain things in life that you sit there and say, well, I couldn't do that, and maybe I'm not the most, you know, I'm not the most talented, or I'm not this, or I'm not the smartest. But what Paul's saying is, when it comes about serving God, it's not a matter of what ability you have, but it's a matter of, are you willing to let God work in you? You know, how much are you willing to come before God and say, okay, God, I want to recognize that in the race of life that I'm going to run, everybody's going to run it. And what's going to mark me isn't necessarily the abilities that I have to start with, but what's going to mark me is how much am I willing to say, okay, God, I'm willing to do the hard work. I'm willing to to live seriously, to live focused. And what happens is that if you have people that are willing to live with that right focus and willing to, in a sense, even as Paul talks about, discipline your bodies, you know, they're the people that at the end of their life, they receive the prize. But even the prizes that you receive, any of you on sports teams, how many have played baseball even now? And it's like, if you're on a sports team, you want to compete and you want to win the trophy, right? You want to have your league win the trophy. And you know what? I remember back when I was around some of your ages. I remember the one year our team won the league. They won the trophy, and we were all excited about it. We won the trophy, and you know where that trophy is now? Yeah, I don't know either. You know, it's like, you know, I won it, but I don't remember where it's at, because it was really big then. But it's like, you know, you forget about it, and there are other things that I think about where I won. You know, like throughout, you know, even through high school or whatever, and you forget about. I heard a guy on an interview this past week, and he talked about he had been a college player, and he had won the national championship, and he talked about how he had this, you know, this national championship ring, and he says, yeah, I've got it in the safe and home. He says, you never, and somebody's talking to him, says, you never wear it? And he says, no. So I don't really like, you know, and so here he is, he's just won it a year or two ago, and it's just like, oh, it's nice to have, it's safe at home, he forgets about it. And the thing is, when you think about life, there's all these things that we could say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this. But God says that there's certain things that when we live for life, that you'll never, you know, that there's certain things that you'll never forget about. And I think that, you know, I was even talking to somebody, again, not that much older than you all, recently. And it was somebody that, you know, in grade school was talking about trying to tell other people about Jesus. And they, as a grade school age, were able to bring this friend to church, and this friend ended up accepting Christ. And that's the type of thing that, you know, that I was talking to this, you know, it's again, around your age. And, you know, saying, you know, that's something that you'll never outgrow. It's not like when I'm, you know, now and I say, well, I don't remember where I won that trophy. I don't remember where that was. But if I had a chance when I was your age to lead someone to Christ, and I could remember that, I still remember that. And that's not something that's going to fade. It's going to be one day I'm going to get to heaven, and I'm going to see that person in heaven, and they're going to still be coming up to me, and they're going to say, hey, man, thank you for telling me about Jesus, because that's how I got here. And I'm going to see Jesus, and Jesus says, hey, I'm proud of you for what you did when you were 9 years old, when you shared your faith with that person, they accepted Christ. You know, those are things that never fade. And so when you look at that, some of you are, you know, you're getting excited about your sports teams. You're getting excited about playing baseball. You're getting excited about, maybe you'll play football in high school, or you'll do something like that. And you'll work and you'll train because you want to win. But in the midst of that, and you say, well, I'm not sure how good I could be. But I want you to remember that all those things are good, and they're good to pursue. You know, it's good to be able to try to win and, you know, try to be the best player you can in whatever you want to do. But it's also important to remember the most important things to succeed on are things that the trophies you win won't be stuff that you'll forget about, you know, like a year after they're gone. That the most important things are the things that you can do when you tell other people about Jesus, and when you know that they accept Christ, and for the rest of your life and their life, that becomes more important, and even in eternity. And sometimes you think about, well, I don't know if I really have what it takes, and well, you might not have what it takes when it comes to being the greatest athlete, or to being the smartest person in class. But the neat thing is when it talks about even sharing our faith and telling other people about Jesus, if you're willing to let God use you, then you say, I don't know if I have the right words, I have what it takes. God has what it takes. And God will take your willingness and saying, well, God, I'm going to go and just talk with this person, you do it. And you'll be amazed. God will take your willingness, and suddenly he'll turn that around, and he'll be the one that uses it. And so you will have what it takes. You know, you'll have the ability to be able to be the one that really, that not only runs the race of life, but runs the race of life in such a way, you know, that you win the ultimate prize. You win God's approval. You know, you win literally influencing other people's lives and leading people to Jesus, and stuff that you'll never outgrow, that you'll never regret. And so when you think about all the things, you know, you see all the people that are competing, you know, remember, what are you competing for? And when you think of all the trophies that you could go for, you know, what are you living for? When you think of all the things that people are striving for, you know, what are you striving for? And I hope, you know, even at a young age, that you start looking at it and start striving for the right things, you know, literally striving for the for the trophies that you'll never outgrow, that you'll never regret, that will only become more and more valuable in your life, and even throughout eternity as you get to reflect on it. Okay? Sounds good. Let me pray for you. Father, I thank you so much for these young men. I thank you for just for each one of them, for their own stories. Father, I thank you for their enjoyment of this past year. And I thank you for the teachers that have invested in them and have spent time with them. Father, I thank you for who these young men are and who you want them to be. And Father, I pray that you would help them to be able to look at even their summer, even their friends and the situation that they're at. And Father, to be able to see that you've called them to run a race. And the race that you've called them to run is more important than what these guys are getting drafted for next week. And Father, that you have called them to be able to run and excel and to let you work through them. And Father, I pray that you'd let them, even as children, to be able to live their lives for things that matter the most. Father, I pray your blessing. Father, we thank you. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Space.
Come on,
Yeah.
guys, get in the circle. Everybody in the circle.
Okay.
Make room there, guys. Everybody get in here.
I need to get
Come on, Jay.
hold hands, people.
All right.
Not
All
hold
right.
hands, Zachary.
And let's see. You're starting it, right? Okay. All right, you can start.
And now we trust in God to keep us right and keep for Christ. Because we love Him, we want to serve Him until we see Him face to face.